So you've got a startup, you want to raise money. Welcome back to the ultimate guide to startup fundraising. Today in part three, we're talking to killer pitch deck that VCs can't ignore. Let's face it, you want to raise money. That comes down to pitch decks, comes down to meeting with investors and getting them excited about what you're doing. But to do that, you've got to cut through the noise. Think about it. VCs are getting hundreds, if not thousands of decks a week through the course of their firm that they have to evaluate. They're getting emails, LinkedIn messages, Twitter spam, everywhere. How do you get their attention? First things first, well, a warm intro helps. If you know anyone who knows them, then you can reach out like that. If you know portfolio companies or even reaching out to their portfolio companies, that can be great for recommendations. All you need to know is you need to get their attention somehow, because if there's no meeting, there's no funding. And that means you need a meeting. To get the meeting, if you haven't checked out our video on how to design your perfect elevator pitch, that's the first step. You got to grab their attention and grab it fast. So now reaching out to investors. Thing is, no one wants to see your business model. No one wants to see your business plan, your business model canvas, none of that. They want to see a pitch deck and they want to know real fast, is this someone I should talk to? If it is, they'll set up a meeting. If it's not, or if they're too busy or bored or have other things, or don't notice your deck, you don't have a chance. So make sure you keep things simple. That means a PDF pitch deck, something they can open up and is stupid proof. No password protection, none of this garbage, no Keynote, no Microsoft PowerPoint, etc. Make it nice, easy, PDF. That's what you send. Now let's talk about the pitch deck itself. You've got 2 to 4 slides to grab my attention. Use them wisely. You really need to grab them right away because, as we said, they've got so many, then if it's been there, done that, or not all that exciting, or how is this going to be the next unicorn? Now they move on to the next deck. So your presentation, you've got to make it awesome. No, you don't have to have the same pitch deck that you use for pitching as you do for your actual outreach. The outreach one really needs to be about grabbing their attention. And that's about that elevator pitch, the who, what, how big, why, and why now, that really make you and your business shine, that really grab someone's attention. Again, you can check out our video on that or go to the ultimate guide to startup fundraising at mattward.io and check that out as well. But now let's talk about your pitch deck. First slide is always the company. What do you do? How do you do it? Grab the attention real fast with that. We've got some great examples. If you go to mattward.io and search for the startup, the killer startup pitch deck guide, you can find the actual examples there. But for now, let's jump right into what you need to include. The company. That's the first slide. It's your tagline. Grab the attention. Airbnb does a great job. Book rooms with locals rather than hotels. Pretty straightforward. You know what's happening. Then jump into the problem or the hook. This is probably the most important slide, slide 2. This is, why the hell are you building what you're building? Lots of startups build cool shit, but only the ones that really solve problems and solve problems for people with money are the ones that make money doing it. The world doesn't need another photo sharing app, but an app that helps photographers protect their photography in a world of $100 billion of stock image piracy. That's a big deal. Now, if you're thinking blockchain, I'm not surprised. I actually just put out a post on his Web3 bullshit. You can check that out on my site as well, mattward.io. But who's your target customer? Why do they care? Remember, there's no mass market products. There's products for people and there's products for no one. What problem are you solving and who's your product for? Think about it. If you were on fire, you could sell a pitcher of water to anyone. And that's why the problem has to be really, really present. Most of the investors you're talking to probably aren't going to be your ideal customer. So you have to make sure that they understand what this problem is and why it is such a big deal for your ideal customer so they can see where the value is. You need to get into the solution as well. What do you do? How is your product solving that customer's pain point, their heartache, their headache, etc.? How are you helping them? And don't just tell, show. The more that you can show, the better. Show always trumps tell. So show your product here, how it's used, what people are saying about it, social proof, demo the product. That's the best way that you can get investors to understand exactly what you're doing. And also at the same time to see it's not just vaporware. You actually have something there. Showing several different slides of the product, the demos, etc., maybe even including a video, those can be incredibly valuable. Now let's talk competition. Competition is something that all venture investors want to see because it proves 2 things. A, you know about the market and you know where you can position yourself and make money. And B, if there's not much of a market there might be a reason for that. You've got to be able to show where you are and how do you differentiate yourself. What makes you better than everything else? And how are you going to stand out and make money? Failing to do that looks like either A, you're a loser and haven't looked into the market, or B, you have a loser product that really doesn't have a way of standing out in the market. Either way, not good signs. So make sure you really dial down on that competition slide. Then there's a value prop. What's the value proposition that you have? Why is your product awesome and incredibly valuable for customers? Why do they want to do that? A few examples. Slack helps businesses and organizations communicate with a simple chat interface. Uber helps individuals get from A to Z with a simple ride-sharing app that lets car owners monetize their free time. Amazon helps people buy and sell things online. What is your value proposition? What's your elevator pitch, so to speak? Get that nailed down in a kind of image textual format and make sure that investors can understand that from a quick look at the slide itself. What all investors want to see, whether you're in pre-seed or Series D, is that traction, the revenue. Show me the money. What's working, what's not. And I want to see real stats, not ego stats. Your Twitter followers don't matter. Your press mentions don't matter. Your product features that you've made, none of that matters. What metrics do you have? What is working? How are you getting customers? How's your revenue going up? How's your usage going up? Those are the kind of things that investors want to see. It's that J curve. The more you're growing, the more you're going, the more venture investors are going to want to get behind you, put money into your company, and try to make you their unicorn that returns the fund, so to speak. The business model. How do you make money? Explain it to me like I'm an idiot. I want to know real fast, real easy how you make money. If it's complicated, it'll be complicated for customers, and investors aren't going to find that very attractive, neither customers. So how do you make money? Is it subscriptions? Is it individual product sales? Is it some type of confusing affiliate model? Be very, very specific here. Now I want to see your projections, your roadmap, your planned growth. I want to see how you're thinking about the future, which is what investors want to know. They want to see that you've got reasonable expectations that you can hit and how you actually plan to get there. Hockey stick growth, it doesn't just happen overnight. You really have to be working at that. And if Facebook ads or affiliate marketing is your strategy, you need to show why that'll work. Speaking of, I always, or almost always, opt for organic growth and viral flywheels where possible. I don't think you can afford to waste 30 to 40% of your venture dollars on Facebook and Google ads. If you're interested in how you can scale up your business with organic marketing, organic content, and building out flywheels and word of mouth marketing, then go to mattward.io. We should talk. Let's see what we can do outside of the traditional ads. And then on this slide as well, how are you going to acquire those customers? If you're not in market yet, if you're pre-seed, what's your go-to-market? If you're going and growing, how do you scale and rev things up? If you're thinking about expanding into new countries, show those countries, show your strategy, show your timeline. Investors want to see that so that they can see you have things planned out and you know where the money will go to. I want to see the TAM. I want to see the market size. So not just the total addressable market, but also the serviceable addressable market and the serviceable operatable market. So TAM, SAM, and SOM. But in addition to that, there's always some controversy about the TAM. Do you just show the massively big number? Or do you think about the market from a bottom-up or a top-down perspective? There can be a lot of different ways to explain that. I like to say, show the biggest number you can that's reasonable. For instance, if you're selling software to real estate management companies, your market is not the real estate market. You don't have the bajillion trillion dollar market of all real estate in the world. Your market is software and the management of real estate. Somewhere in that kind of combination, so to speak, is where you would fall. Investors will call you out on your bullshit. If you say your market is $217 trillion for that managed global real estate when it's really only 7 trillion, that's a big, big, big difference. And sure, 7 trillion is enormous. And if you squint at it, you might be able to see a slightly larger number. But investors, they're not stupid. They don't want to be lied to, and they don't want to invest in stupid founders to lie to them. So keep all of that in mind. Here, maybe a bit of a better example. So on a bottoms-up approach, Amazon charges FBA sellers 15% for every transaction, plus shipping and some other stuff as well. And Amazon is eating e-commerce. Well, if e-commerce was to increase from 15 to 30% of all US retail, which was 6 trillion in 2018, Amazon would process $1.8 trillion in transactions. That would be $270 billion per year in transactional FBA fees alone. And that's revenue, not TAM. Their TAM, assuming 30% of all retail, would be $1.8 trillion. Plus, they're creating their own Amazon Basics line, which will commoditize everything and also eat into that TAM as well. But that's kind of a way of thinking about the top-down TAM, is looking at the total market size and thinking about percentage. A bottom-up TAM, it's generally a bit more smaller and more realistic. That's what, not looking at the actual market, but that's looking at the sales and the channels and how you can break into that. So let's say selling snack bars at Starbucks, for instance. There's 6,031 Starbucks in the US. Let's assume each has 10 pre-made and homemade snack options and 10 homemade snack options. So they're selling 100 units per day, a made up number. And let's say every product, you'd account, if you added another, you'd account for like 1/21st or 4.5% of their product line. Well, that would be 4.5 bars per day, all things being equal. That's 27,139 bars per day in the States, which is at a $4 price point, is $108,000 a day, or $3.9 million per year. Now, if you expand it globally and you reach into other coffee chains as well, like 7-Eleven, et cetera, your TAM goes up, up, up. But that's how you could think about something from a bottom-up approach, really looking at what you can sell, how much you would be able to sell, and then calculating backwards to see what the total values would be. On to the next slide, the team. The team is the most important part about any startup. Who are the ones building it, and why are they going to run through walls to make it happen? Facebook won the first social network. Google won the first search engine. You've heard all of that. Well, the path to success is paved in hell, and dead founders, dead startups, carcasses, and misery. What's going to make you different? What's going to make you be the one that succeeds? That's always the question when it comes to startups, and that's what investors are looking for. In addition to that, they're looking for how you're going to use the money. So it's good to have an ask slide on there asking exactly what you're looking for and how you're going to use that money, be it marketing, be it expansion into new markets, be it product development. People want to know where their money is going so that they can see that you have the plan to grow the business, just like we talked about earlier with a projected roadmap. So add a little bit there. And then personally, on the last slide, I like to end with a bit of a bang, the end. Not just a thank you for your time, any questions type deal, but really a call to action. Have your company information on there, your name, your contact information, and then maybe a couple of key metrics or things that make you look good. Maybe some cute, huge pilots or logos you've landed, maybe your MRR and how it's increasing, maybe projections on where you're headed, or maybe something else entirely. But anything that you add, just remember, keep in mind, you only have one chance to have a lasting impression. What last impression are you going to have? Are they going to open your deck again, forward it to other VCs at the fund, or set up a meeting with you, or are you onto the trash folder? You've got one pitch deck, one email to grab their attention. Make sure you do it right. If you want to see this article in its entirety, go to mattward.io and search for the ultimate guide to startup fundraising. There you can see the 5-part series that we have on all things identifying investors and ideal investor types, coming up with a pitch deck and perfecting your pitch deck and your elevator pitch, the biggest mistakes startups make, and of course, how to structure your fundraise to close faster. Then if you're interested in more help, I'd love to work together. That's what I do. I help startups and founders changing the world to do it faster with growth, scaling, and fundraising, coaching, and advice to help them make their dream into a reality. You can find out more about me, look into some of the other articles and free resources we have, like my 15-step growth guide to acquiring and retaining customers, and some other free goodies at mattward.io. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning into this. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And now go raise your round, get to work. Talk to you guys again soon. Cheers.